Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wandering Artist Podcast. If you're new here, my name is Casey,
And I'm Steffi.
and we are going to be talking about week 3 of The Artist's Way. If you don't know what that is or what we're talking about, you should go back to our first video. Podcast? Video. Both. Video and podcast that we have about it. But yeah, where do you want to start?
Well, I don't think you can hear anything outside, but we're currently in Thailand. We're in Bangkok right now in this lovely little room.
There's a lot happening down on the street below us.
Yeah, there's
Really
a lot
good
of noise.
food,
Really good food, really good drinks.
really good bubble tea. But it is loud, so if either of us seem distracted, it's probably because we are.
Yeah. It's because we are. And it's also like 5:36 p.m.
It's dinner time.
So, it's been a
Extra
long
loud.
day. We had a lovely day though. We have had a lovely few days in Bangkok, and yeah, while being here, we were also, well, I guess we started week 3 while in London, and then when we were in Bangkok, finished week 3.
Yep.
And week 3 had a lot of
the assignments were, to me, it felt like inner child work. It talked about a lot of different things, so I'm actually curious now what the title of week 3 is, because it talks about anger, it talks about synchronicity, it talks about childhood, and then it talks about friendships and a few other things. So
I feel like when we first listened to it, we were both in a good headspace right now, but we were in a particularly profound headspace. We had just finished reading The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.
Deepak Chopra. Yes.
By Deepak Chopra.
You got it.
I feel like I'm looking that up. But after we had finished that book, we were listening to chapter 3 or week 3, and I wrote down notes again of themes and things that came up that were really, really impactful. And I would say so much of it was because it directly related to that inner child and that inner artist. And I think that even though in the book it's not saying a direct correlation, your inner child is your inner artist, I think she's maybe mentioned that how they're similar, but it really feels like you're 100% right, really feels like inner child work.
Yeah, they definitely go hand in hand.
Yeah, and for themes, there was themes of anger, synchronicity, shame, growth. Those were all the themes. Is looking at all of those and then looking at yourself and seeing what are self-limiting beliefs that I have, or what tools am I using that I'm using against myself.
What tactics are self-sabotaging, basically.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, shame is a really big one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, do we want to start with shame, or do we want to start with anger in the way that she talked about it?
I feel like you connected to the anger part, so I want to hear what you thought about that and what you experienced.
Yeah, so the first thing she talked about was anger. And anger is something that I think we both have a very specific relationship with. For you, anger is something that since being on T, you have a different relationship with entirely. While I didn't, growing up, I was basically told that anger was a bad thing, and that if I had anger, that I would be punished, so I couldn't be angry. So my parents did this. I don't even remember what the parental training is called anymore, but it was jackal and giraffe. So basically, your kid's either acting like a jackal or a giraffe. I didn't realize what a jackal was. They're very cute. I don't know what the problem with being a jackal is. And why is a giraffe considered? Anyways,
I don't know. That was really, really random parenting on your parents' part.
They went to a parenting class about it, but they used that all the time with me.
It's so bad.
No, literally, if any time I wasn't being a good girl, in the video you could see it doing hella quotations. But if I wasn't being good, then I would basically be told to go to my room until I was going to be good. If I was being a jackal, which basically meant I was showing any emotions that were um technically negative, but I wouldn't even call some of these things negative. I would just say anything that wasn't like deemed good for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. I would be
If your
told, go ahead.
emotions were like an inconvenience in any way, if you were
Yes.
sad, if you were upset, if you were mad,
Yes.
those were considered negative emotions.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And something that she wrote is that anger isn't bad. It's a loyal friend who will always tell you when you've been betrayed or have betrayed yourself. And that was like, oh, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God,
Yeah.
someone said it. Like, I knew anger wasn't bad. I just didn't understand it. It was such a scary thing for me because it was so demonized. Hearing that was just really, it was really nice to just like kind of like put two and two together in that way. The rest of what that comment was that she had made was it is looking out, anger is looking out for you and shows up when you are betrayed or need to make an action or need action. And so I thought that was really interesting and cool, and overall just I appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I connected with that in the sense that like I've developed my relationship with anger enough to know that like an action is required to
Mm.
move through anger, but
Mm-hmm.
like knowing what an appropriate action is also really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's she was literally saying in it in the in week 3, anger is action's invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I'm just gonna say it again because like wow, anger is action's invitation.
Mm-hmm.
It's your brain or body saying I could do it better and I could do this thing, and that's actually she did some like anger translations, like that's translating to I want to do this thing, I need to start doing this thing, I need to take myself seriously, because
Mm-hmm.
it's you when you feel that anger for, let's say, like someone did a movie, like a self-made film or whatever, and you're like I could do that,
Mm-hmm.
then that's your brain and body and your anger saying like girl, go do
Mm-hmm.
it. Take yourself seriously, respect yourself enough to start doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that was something I'm still digesting, but really, really insightful for me. And it's an invitation for me to look at anger differently instead of looking at it as a bad thing, looking at it as an invitation to explore what my needs are. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was always used against me. So it's now an invitation to like use it to help myself instead of demonizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the anger section for me and for you.
Yeah.
I took away a lot from that, and that was very cool.
Mm-hmm. So the next thing that's the theme that's mentioned for week 3 is about synchronicity. And I don't know. I think synchronicity is interesting to me because one thing that she says in the book that I resonated with a lot is that how often we like think of things happening or something happens, right? And we say, "Oh, what a coincidence." Um
Yeah.
and it was an invitation to see coincidences rather as something that's like intentionally placed in front of you by the universe.
Yeah.
And that definitely like changed my perspective going into this week.
Yeah.
um, because one of the questions at the end was like, if you experience synchronicities. I don't know if I should have read that before we did the check-in, but it put my antenna up and I was paying attention more to like things happening around
Yeah,
us.
I think we're supposed to have read the whole thing and then done the week. So I don't think that's bad that we were looking for it. I think that was part of the purpose of her mentioning it is that we would look for it and we'd say, "Okay, universe, like talk to me in this way," or, you know, I've not been open to synchronicities before. Let me see what you have to offer. And then
Mm-hmm.
looking for it, or not even looking for it, but being aware when it happens. Because you can't just look for a coincidence or a synchronicity. Like if we let's think of it as a coincidence, because we're so used to that. You can't look for one. It just happens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just look for a synchronicity, it just happens
Yeah.
when you put the right intentions out there. And when we get to that part of the chapter, or at least when we go to the check in, we'll talk more about the synchronicities that we experienced
Mm-hmm.
recently. But I feel like the big thing about synchronicity is some things you talked about in chapter 2. I don't know why I keep doing that. Some things you talked about in week 2 as well, which was when the universe hears you, or when you put out your intentions and your thoughts and your desires, oftentimes the universe, the creator, whatever you want to, the energy of the world or of the universe, whatever phrasing that you want or need, or God. I'm not really wanting to use that word, but when you put your intentions out there, they often will be answered. And so often we see that and we go, that can't be right. Like, that can't be for me. I guess she had so many examples of people who, the first one I think of is the very first one she said, which was someone wants to start acting for the first time and they get invited to do an acting class from somebody they met randomly at a dinner, and they reject it being like, no, like that's silly, like that's not real. And something she had said in the previous week was that, so maybe it was this week, that so often we have these answers and we have the thing we're looking for, and then we basically go, actually, that's a lot of responsibility, that's a lot of like, I gotta like take myself seriously if I do that thing.
Yeah.
And you
It's
have to
like
put energy into
we're
it.
more afraid of things going right than
Mm-hmm.
things going wrong.
Exactly.
And like we avoid and step away from those things because it's like a different type of fear of the unknown. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if it does go well? What if it does work out for me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So often we have an intention or we have a desire, we have an expectation of how that's going to come about. Someone wants to be a musician and they go, I have to go to Juilliard to be a musician. But there's so many ways to be a musician. And
Mm-hmm.
let's say that they go to Juilliard and they do all of that, but while they're there, they keep getting these invites to like join a little gig. And like they keep getting pushed in this direction of like, hey, like this is the thing that you want. But because they have their vision and their expectation, they
Mm-hmm.
won't listen to this answered desire, this answered prayer.
Yeah.
You know? So letting go of the expectation of how things are supposed to look or how you think things are supposed to be,
Yeah.
I think that's something I took away from that a lot.
Yeah. And that's really not easy to do. Yeah.
Say more.
It's just I feel like also like with our experience of, I guess it's partly like the perfectionists that's in us, is like
Mm-hmm.
we have this vision of how things are going to go or how we want them to go. And so there might be things that are put into our path that are meant for us, but because it's not in line exactly with like how we perfectly envisioned it, we're less likely to go for it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why I feel like, I don't know, it's just been really helpful and like eye opening to like see things in a different way
Yeah.
and pay attention in a different way.
It's almost like being more present and releasing expectations of like how you think things are going to go, and that sounds so much more difficult than it actually is, which is something I don't say often, but it's really like, let's say we went to Thailand and we were like, okay, we're gonna go take pictures here, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and like, yes, we want to do all those things while we're here, and if we just like sit back and plan the bare minimum, oftentimes those things will end up happening anyways. And you don't have to be anxious about, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? What's on our list next? Which is something
Mm-hmm.
that did a lot. And I still have moments where I do it. And I think what helped me with that was, instead of releasing expectations, it was releasing control. And it was, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It was, again, we talked about it in last week's episode of the, what is it, fourth law, set fifth law,
Law of least effort.
yeah, the law of least effort, which was in that other book that we were talking about. And that really just like that paired with this was such a like mind blowing, like, oh, I can just take a deep breath and acknowledge that there's literally nothing I can do about the train being late or us running behind or,
Mm-hmm.
any of these things. And every single time we haven't been late. What the fuck is that?
I don't know, but it's awful.
That's horrible.
It's worse than nails on a chalkboard.
That's a saw.
It is?
It's gotta be. That's not a break. It's going too
Oh
long.
my god.
Anyways, okay, the last thing I want to talk about with synchronicities is just like a few things that she wrote. This goes in the realm of expectations, synchronicities, and desire. Things that you want to happen won't happen because you have an expectation of how it will happen. It'll happen because you have a good intention.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an expectation, you're always going to miss out on more because
Mm-hmm.
you assume it's going to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's a good way of putting it.
thanks.
Yeah. So the other part is shame. Shame, shame, shame,
Shame,
shame.
shame, know thy name. So this one I also deal with a lot, and I know you do as well.
Yeah.
But I wrote notes on it, and I'm gonna go first with speaking about it. But the things that she wrote were all things that we're aware of, and the notes that I took are like, we know that shame is a tool used to control us. We know shame is a tool and a tactic to keep people hiding themselves and hiding their truth. Because if people show that they're different, if people show who they are, specifically in like family units or in friend units, even, so often that's immediately interpreted as, why are you an outsider? Why are you, how dare you do that? She said that was actually one thing that she wrote a lot, was like that quote of how dare you. And
Mm-hmm.
I really identify with being told that, like, how dare you do this thing, how dare you do that. And like something that came up a lot in the morning pages was like, this sounds so funny, I was a really depressed kid. I was like really freaking depressed. There was a lot of like shit that happened in elementary school. Like my best friend's mother, who was like kind of my own mom too at the time, died when I was like 8 or something. And that was like the first time I dealt with death. And it was dealt with extremely poorly. My parents basically made it so I couldn't go to any of the funerals or any services or anything to like really get over it. And whenever I did express feelings about it, they kind of just shut me down and were like, well, it was gonna happen, kind of thing. So like, didn't really get to do that. And on top of that, there was like weird teacher drama and like stuff at my school, and I was just really like an unhappy kid. And so often that turned into an unhappy kid who was really wanting their needs to be met and was pretty loud about it, and then was shunned for it.
Mm-hmm.
So shame was like how, I guess the jackal giraffe thing kind of comes up there too. Is like being a jackal, that was immediately shamed. Any like inconvenient emotion was shamed, and you were told to hide yourself away and to put yourself away, and you wouldn't get food, you wouldn't be fed, you wouldn't be this, you wouldn't be that. And I don't think that my parents like realized that. I know they feel badly about it now. They wouldn't do that again. But so often I would like draw on things I wasn't supposed to and be shamed for that and be yelled at for that, when I really just wanted like a writing pad or like a journal of something that I could write in or draw in. That, and I used to draw ton of like manga and anime characters when I was younger because that's what I had access to material wise. I didn't have TV. I just had manga from the library. So that's how I learned how to draw. And because manga and anime, especially at that time, wasn't popular, it was like quite shameful to watch or do that in the US. Like it was like considered, I think so many people considered it like, I think they associate it with like porn or something, or like it was a really weird association that I still don't quite understand, because like it's just it's animated storytelling. That's all it is. And for some reason it was very like, you watch anime, like, ew, what are you doing? So I wouldn't embarrass myself. I wouldn't talk about it, and I would like feel ashamed for even enjoying it, and for drawing that way. A lot of people, I think, whether or not they meant to, tried to like shame me and control me so that they wouldn't embarrass themselves and so I wouldn't embarrass myself. So that was a very long-winded way to come around to that because there was a lot of things happening, and there's like things I wrote in school that got phone calls to my parents, and then they would be like, "Are you okay?" But it wasn't in like the "I love you, are you okay?" It was the "Why are you letting people see inside to like into our family dynamic? Like,
Mm,
why don't embarrass us by doing this and like by writing how depressed you are. Don't write about death and all of that because it shows that something's wrong in our household and we don't want that to be shown, even though I was just expressing myself." Which she talks about literally in the book. You
mm-hmm,
know, like it's literally within shame and being like controlled by it, by others, and then later by yourself because you have your own shame that someone else has basically beaten into you. And so then you continue that cycle in yourself. Something else that often happens is the feeling of, well, it doesn't matter anyways. And this becoming detached, like this full detachment from your desires and your feelings because shame kind of gets in the way.
mm-hmm. I definitely relate to that one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I was in I was in a 7-year relationship with a person, and for almost all of it I was like, well, it that doesn't matter. Like at least they're doing this. At least that. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal that he missed my birthday. It's not a big deal that he didn't do what I asked him to do. It's not a big deal that he cheated on me, you know? Like so many times I did that to basically just like not feel how upset I was. And that goes
Mm-hmm,
back to shame and anger. Like to not feel, I detached. And now that I'm learning to feel those things again, it feels kind of scary, but I'm learning how to navigate it and understand it better.
mm-hmm.
So, shame, shame, know thy name.
Shame, shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I relate a lot to like the experiences that you had growing up as well, that like anything that was not deemed like normal picture perfect family was very shameful and could not be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Very Melanie Martinez dollhouse.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
actually thought about that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like, and one of the tasks that we had was like writing out like the qualities that you appreciated in yourself as a child, and like one that I really appreciated and like I guess kind of got mixed reviews was how goofy I've always been. Like just weird, just really fucking weird. I was a weird kid. I did weird goofy things. A lot
Like
of
most kids
times,
do.
yeah, and like I made people laugh a lot. I made my family laugh a lot, but I also like I didn't know where the line was of when I was becoming like annoying,
Mm,
or like too weird. And so that really ended up just pushing down a lot of that goofiness because I never really knew where that line was. So yeah, I think like thinking back to my childhood is always interesting and challenging for me because a lot of it feels like muted, and a lot of times it's hard to like truly reflect back.
mm-hmm.
um but like I don't have any explicit memories of being like shamed for my goofiness, but I know that it's there and I can feel it, and I remember having memories of a kid as a kid, um like being aware of that and
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, pushing it down.
Yeah.
um
You also had that in a lot of relationships.
yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
um
There's also the gold mine of your queerness being shamed.
oh yeah, oh my god, that's like a whole other separate podcast. That's like
It's 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 part of this though.
yeah.
Because mine was not shamed, mine was just not accepted, but yours was shamed.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting being given messages in my family that like being gay was bad, but also like have like my parents having like gay friends, so like it was okay, but
Not if you
not
did
if,
it.
yeah, not if I did it. And
Yeah.
like um I had my neighbor when I was a kid. We were like really tight. We were like BFFs, and we did some weird shit that was like queer. And that was like the biggest shame of my entire like childhood, because my parents kind of found out about the queer shit that we were doing. Um and so that really like that definitely shoved a lot of that queerness down for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um
But even that is a moment where you were expressing yourself in whichever way, and you were instantly shamed for expressing that, even if it
mhm.
wasn't creatively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think this brings up is like anytime you've been shamed, no matter what it's been about, you're learning new ways to shame yourself when an opportunity shows up for you. And you can self sabotage by using the words that others have used or energies others have had around you, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so but now we're actively working on that and
Mm-hmm.
recognizing it. So
What do you feel like you've taken away from the shame aspect of this? Like what have you learned, and what do you feel like, what are ways that you feel that you're going to grow or ways that you are growing?
um the example that I feel like I talked about last week as well was, and this was just like anecdotally, but like I've been really into sketching, and like I saw that book that I really wanted that was like different techniques on sketching, and I like the thought in my brain came up that was like I'm not going to be ashamed for like wanting to learn about it in this way. And like, I guess there's like this inner belief I have that like in order to be like a true artist it has to come from nowhere or out of my ass, and I have to be like talented from nothing,
Mm-mm.
which is not true.
Andy Warhol.
And I literally know that also because I've taken, you know,
Art
I've
classes.
taken a lot of art classes
Mm-hmm.
in college, so I know
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still that like that,
Expectation.
yeah, that shame came from somewhere. I think that's something that a lot of artists experience, is that like whatever you do has to be like
Unique.
100% true and original, which like literally is not real.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Stealing like an artist.
Hmm.
If you know, you know.
I forgot that author's name, but I love that book, Steal Like an Artist, because it's chef's kiss. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I feel like that's, again, like I said, I could have an entire podcast talking about like shame from my childhood, but um,
I could too.
yeah,
Maybe we'll do a shame podcast one of these days.
yeah, that would be pretty interesting actually. So yes, we could talk about shame for a while, but I think we should move on.
Yes. Her next theme is growth.
Hmm.
Growth.
I love growth because like I always remind myself that growth and change are not linear. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a weird random squiggle, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
just like be along for the ride. And especially with what we're doing, like the reminder that you might have periods of like you're bursting with inspiration and everything is flowing nicely, and then you're going to step into a phase where it's like you're kind of retreating into yourself and like
Mm-hmm.
it's not coming as easily. I feel like with the morning pages I had a mix of both this week.
Mm.
Last week was like very like inward, like slow. The week before that was very like bursting with like inspiration. This week has been a mix of that, so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that just,
It occurs in spurts.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
It comes and goes, and it's can be cyclical, but it just kind of depends on a lot of things.
mhm.
How much can you take in at one time? What else is going on in your life?
Yeah,
How can that
exactly.
apply?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something that she wrote is to practice being kind to yourself, and that will in turn help you grow, and that like those who help themselves will be helped.
Mhm.
Is that the saying? God helps
I,
those who helps themselves.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. I like what I said better.
Yeah.
When you are showing the universe or showing yourself that you matter and that you care about yourself and your well-being and your dreams and your inner child, your inner artist, when you show yourself that, you gain more confidence, and that in turn is growth. Growth is something that only happens when you allow it and acknowledge it.
Well, I'm going to speak about a little story about being here in Thailand. And I feel like it connects with what you're saying. Being here in Thailand, I wasn't sure if I've just become a lot more accustomed to stimulation and I'm more comfortable with it, or if it just wasn't as overstimulating here as I thought it would be. But I really do think the more I think about it, I really think that I've improved in my ability to handle highly stimulating places.
And like self-regulate.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking earlier too, I don't think I shared this with you, but I know that like being here in Thailand, like I'm really enjoying what we're doing. And I also know that if I had done this at any other point in my life, I would not be having a good time
Mm.
because like the heat is insane and like in the past I've really struggled with being in heat, but I'm doing so much better with that than I ever thought.
Just now compared to France is a world of difference.
Yeah.
Like even within the few months, like it is it's an incredible difference.
Yeah. And I feel like I do want to attribute some of that to having a mindfulness practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because when you're overstimulated, it's like you're too aware of everything, but somehow taking time out of your day to be aware of just being makes that a lot easier.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure how to explain why that is,
No, you don't have to. It's
um,
just what you're experiencing.
but anyway, I that's what I was thinking about when you were talking. So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you feel like that connects, but
Yeah.
um, I know that I'm really enjoying my time here, and
Mm-hmm.
I would have had a very different experience if I had been here like 2, 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
would
yeah.
I wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, and it also speaks to like having different like ever evolving human
Mm-hmm.
and evolving into a new version of yourself. Something that I'm noticing while being here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk a lot about having different eras in our life, or I guess I said eras because we were watching Drag Race recently. Season was it season 15?
We're in 16 right
So
now.
yeah, season 15, Mistress was always like, I'm in my blah 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 era, but oftentimes we call it phase,
Or chapter.
chapter,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where we envision our life as many chapters. So there's going to be like we're currently in our traveling chapter. Maybe up next we have a New Mexico chapter, or we go back to Portland, or we live in Thailand or New Zealand or France or somewhere else. Like we're not sure what the next chapter holds, but we see our life in chapters and growth happens within those pages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think if we had been in a different chapter, this wouldn't have been the trip it's currently being.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we should do the assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should do
Okay.
the assignments. I kind of forgot about that. LOL.
Yeah,
We've already been talking for an hour.
we have, yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be a long one, guys. Sorry.
Strap in, baby.
So that leads us pretty nicely into the tasks that we had this week. Or actually, yeah, it kind of does because chapters of our life, and one of the chapters was our childhood, and a lot of the tasks this week involved our childhood. And the first one was detective work and answering a bunch of questions about our childhood and about ourselves and what we think we're expected to be like and what we think we're supposed to be like versus what we actually like and
Mm-hmm.
who we actually want to be like. Um, one of the things that I did was also describing my childhood room, as you said earlier, describing 5 childhood traits that we liked in ourselves, looking at our habits, making a list of friends who nurture you and the traits that are involved with that. I think maybe something we didn't bring up was traits were brought up a lot at the end, especially when it comes to like traits we appreciate and traits that we maybe don't as much.
Mm,
But I think that maybe has more to do with habits than it does with like forming a personality.
yeah. I think like the part about doing the detective work was interesting for me. I'm not
Mhm.
entirely sure what the point was because some of it was like childhood stuff, and then there
Mhm.
was one that was like you're supposed to finish the sentence with each one, but like one of them's like I'm afraid if I start dreaming blank, and that's very different from like, my favorite childhood game was blank. But
Mhm.
I guess it's just, it's generally a thought provoking
Yeah. It might have
exercise.
started out with things that were easy to answer and then went into harder things to answer.
Hmm.
Try to trick you a little bit.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
definitely had some interesting realizations that came out of it, but
Yeah.
honestly, because I don't have my notes in front of me, I don't remember what they were.
Do you want to grab them?
Um, yeah, I could. I'm just worried about this being too long.
Okay, well then I won't talk about mine either.
um,
I know for me, I it's all things I kind of knew because although I have a lot of shame, I also have a pretty good respect for the voice in my head, like my inner child's voice of like, I want to do this thing. And so often, like specifically, I'm in a really interesting phase right now where I really want nails. I've never in my life wanted nails, but like I kind of want to have like fun little nails that are like cutesy. And I've literally never wanted that because I've always told myself that it was silly because my nails grow so fast that if I get something that I need to fill, it's gonna be like every 2 weeks, and that's expensive. And usually, money has been the thing that like limits me in that way, and also like expressing femininity in that way, especially for someone who's non-binary but is feminine, and many people just see as a woman or a girl, anyways. I really didn't want to like be put in that box, but for whatever reason, I'm kind of just like wanting to be girly anyways. And I think
mhm.
I don't really know exactly why that's happening, but I think going through these tasks this week, I was kind of like, oh, I was super tomboyish. I think part of it was protecting myself, and part of it was that one was protecting myself because femininity seemed dangerous, and I was not wrong. If you know, you know. Anyway, I'm kind of feeling, I guess, safe enough and intrigued enough and wanting to validate the inner child in me enough to want to explore femininity in a way that I never have. And apparently that is expressing in nails, which is one of the things I answered.
And
And
you've talked about it so much at this point that we're gonna make that happen.
yeah, I'm going to have press ons next time
Yeah,
you see me.
I might also. We're not doing it right away though because we're about to go to a retreat, so
Yeah, do
we'll
we want
wait.
to? I guess the other tasks were like talking about our childhood bedroom and our traits, and I had a pretty emotional response to that.
Hmm.
I like full sobbed when I was thinking about childhood traits that I appreciated because almost all of them, as I was saying, were protective. They were either appearance based or protective, and I could not think of something that was like a trait that I appreciated in the moment that wasn't out of shame. That was a really challenging one for me, but I'm glad I did it, and I did find some things that I appreciated about my younger self.
Can you
Which,
share one of the traits that you found to have appreciated
yeah, beyond looks,
beyond looks and beyond like what was protective?
yeah,
Because I knew that you were having an emotional reaction. We were both working on stuff at the same time,
mm-hmm.
and you expressed that part. But
You
I'm
curious
curious
what I
what
came
your
across?
yeah.
Let me find it. Okay, so the things I wrote that I actually genuinely appreciated were my fearlessness and my kindness, because I was a very fearless kid. I have many scars to prove it. And I was pretty outspoken for a kid, and I was pretty fearlessly like sharing my emotions, even though they continually got shunned. So that was pretty brave of a kid to do, no matter how many times they were grounded or yelled at for expressing themselves. To continue doing that was just really impressive, and I'm proud of young me for like sticking up for myself the best I could.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then the other one's kindness because I've always, even though it started out of like I want to be like my mom and like be popular and be loved and liked, it turned into something that I do without thinking. And it was something I did without thinking when I was younger. Like I beat up childhood bullies. I was considered probably was considered a bully for how many hearts I broke. But
I feel like, I mean, at least from the stories you've told me, every time you've been the quote unquote bully, it was justified because they were the bully first.
yeah, which
So
like
you were just like
violence doesn't
serving
help.
justice.
Yes, I was the hand of justice, or so I thought. I'm so sorry, Noah. I hope you're okay. I don't even remember his last name. Was even I don't even know if that was his name. Might have been Liam. I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
remember.
Liam, Noah, whoever you are.
Sorry. But
Yeah.
you shouldn't have been tripping Audrey. Anyways, the lore. But yeah, what about you? Do you want to talk about any of the tasks that brought anything up for you?
I do. I'm going to grab my notebook. Do. Okay, I'm just going to read what I wrote for
Yeah.
the
Which one?
childhood best traits.
Yeah.
I put down being attentive, affectionate, goofy, sensitive, and passionate. And I'm
Mm.
not exactly sure why I wanted to share this with you. This memory has popped up a few times this week, and I feel like you might understand the connection once I tell you, because it connects with like anger and shame and like all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was doing this detective work, thinking about my childhood, and I wrote down passionate, it was part of me being like, a sensitive and emotional child. But
Mm-hmm.
this memory popped into my head of when I was little, when I had to get ready for school in the morning. What my parents would do is they would come into our bedroom. My sister and I shared a room until she started middle school or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they would come into the room, and school started early. Okay, school started at like 7 a.m. when I was a kid.
Wow, that's early.
It was so early. Anyway, parents would come into the room at like 6 a.m. and they would just flick on the overhead.
Oh, that's cruel. I'm gonna do that to them next time. Next time we're there, I'm literally gonna do that. Be like, how do you like that?
And
Oh my god.
that also explains why I hate the big light now. But anyway, they would come in. The first thing they would do, and the light switch was so old that it like made a sound,
Wait,
so it would just like, and it
yeah.
was so bright. And I've always been a bitch who loves their sleep. Okay, and
I thought you were gonna say something else.
so they would flick on the switch. I would be rudely awakened, and my
Mm-hmm.
response was to stiffen up like a board because I was angry. I didn't want to be up. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be woken up like that.
Yeah.
I had already been taught at that point, obviously, that anger wasn't allowed and I couldn't really express it.
So you would just get stiff.
I would like my physical reaction was to like tighten up.
That's a fear
And
response.
it wasn't really fear though, it was just anger.
Two things can be true.
Yeah. Well, it didn't feel like fear. It just felt like I was really angry and I couldn't express that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then my dad made fun of me a lot for that. Like he would call me like the board or something like
What the
that.
fuck? How would
I
he
don't
know that you were
remember.
bored? I'm imagining bunk beds.
No, it wasn't a bunk bed.
So you'd be like chill and you'd go,
It was like full body. I would like puff my chest out. My arms and legs would go straight.
that is so interesting.
I
And
was
your
the
dad would make fun of you for it.
Yeah,
But he didn't realize what was happening because you couldn't express it.
yeah.
That's fucked. That's crazy.
So anyway,
That is such an interesting memory and such an
yeah,
interesting reaction to anger. Like we all have our own reactions, but that one's like particularly interesting to me.
yeah. I mean, I just feel like it perfectly ties into everything we're talking about because like I couldn't express anger, and there was also like the shame around it as well.
Mm-hmm. Or being
And
made fun of, really, which is shame in itself.
yeah,
Shaming
and
someone.
not being able to like express my emotions in that moment, not even
Yeah.
being able to express like, one, that was a rude way to wake me up, and two, like I don't want to be awake, I want to sleep more.
Damn you. So this
Like,
makes a lot more sense for a lot of things. This is going to go on a fun tangent. Apologies. Not apologies. You're here to listen to us, anyways. but like you're very sensitive when you wake up. Like you consistently ask me to be nice to you. If I have like any energy that's like at all neutral to bad. Side note, I don't experience neutral in the way most of you do. We'll talk
That's
about it on a different episode.
I was gonna say that is an entirely separate podcast
I
episode.
just want to give them a little nugget.
Your experience of black and white, good and bad. But anyway,
Yeah. So that's just like, it makes more sense. And I will try to be more respectful. I think I've been better about it, but knowing that you have such an extreme memory and micro trauma slash I don't know what to call that experience.
Yeah,
it says a lot.
A neurodivergent kid not being able to express their needs.
Who else gets that?
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
I mean, I didn't share it because like it's like just like a random memory in a way, but
what in here is making that show up though? Passionate?
Passionate, yeah.
Okay.
Like I was passionate, I had a lot of feelings, but even at that young age, I had learned to suppress those things.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you feel like you can start to express. I know you can express things better now. I know you can, because you do, and I'm very proud of you for that.
I don't need to stiffen up like a board and tighten every single muscle in my body as a response to being upset by something. So
unless you're in the middle of the road and you get scared, that's your response.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's talk about Artist Date first.
Are we counting? Is it the art museum that we went to in London? Because I don't know. It's interesting experiencing like artist dates. I guess we go into it like intentionally saying this will be our artist date, but I also feel like because we're traveling, so much of it feels like an artist date in itself.
Yeah,
because there's so much that's like inspiring and new and different.
Absolutely.
So,
well, you can tell whatever you experienced as the artist date. You could talk about. I would say we kind of had two this week. We had one at the museum, which was, I think, the intention going into it was mostly just like to get the vibes of the museum, and it kind of ended up being people watching and judging artists for how they blended and how they drew cats. Insert a photo here. Anyways, if you're watching the video, you now know this one painting we saw. But I don't know, I enjoyed our time. I think it was more of like, I didn't learn necessarily, but I was inspired by a lot of the artists' interpretation of fabric and how they painted that. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was really interesting how they painted faces and how different those were. And I had beef with their choice of exhibiting people, period. Like, there's such a wonderful opportunity to bring up social justice and just justice in general.
Yeah.
Into an art space, and maybe we missed it, but we saw 3 paintings of people who weren't white royalty, which I guess, it is like the England Museum of whatever.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
honestly, like, even the plaques, the way that they were written,
were insensitive.
Like, there was one that was talking about New Zealand, coincidentally.
Yeah.
And the colonizers that traveled there, and it was stated as fact that, the natives were hostile.
Like, no shit. No shit that the indigenous people of this land were hostile when random ass white people, or just people in general, show up and say, this is mine now.
Yeah.
Like, girl, did you not go to kindergarten? Do you not remember your friends taking your toys and you were like, bitch, the fuck? Now imagine it's your home.
I feel like
and then they start killing you.
The UK in general could be better about taking accountability for how many people they've fucked over.
Like, we could get into that. That's another episode.
Yeah.
If we have any questions about what we need to make episodes on, we will come back to this episode.
Or leave in the comments what you want an entire episode on that we've talked about here. But yeah, I the art museum, like, I don't want to say that it was a letdown. I think it was just different than what we had expected.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the artwork that's displayed there is not immediately stuff that like resonates or inspires us
It's
necessarily,
just a bunch of portraits of rich old people who are currently dead.
like
And
medieval
what
people that.
I struggled with the most, not the most, the second most struggled with thing was how many paintings were done by artists who were unnamed. Unknown artist painting this person.
Hmm.
Like, I'm like genuinely in shock of how dare you take away an artist's voice by not putting their name somewhere, having a receipt of it.
Hmm.
Like, that's so, I think that's just rude. That's
Yeah,
just rude, straight
I
up.
mean, it's interesting how like art was appreciated but also not appreciated because it was a
No.
very egotistical, like,
It was a money and
paint
ego
me in my
thing.
luxury.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about who you are.
Yeah.
I want you to do this thing for me.
Yeah. It makes me think of, what's it called? The Portrait of a Woman, Lady on Fire? Woman on Fire?
Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire. If you haven't watched it, watch it. We'll do an episode later. That
I want to rewatch that movie. It was so good.
would be a good artist date. The second artist date we kind of did was when we arrived at the Airbnb hostel hotel thing that we're at. It's very beautiful. Um, we were sketching
Hmm.
again, and that was super fun. And we were
Yeah.
using the information that we had gathered from like 3 pages of that one book in the previous artist date from last week.
Hmm.
We were using information from that to like try again, and I think it was really helpful for me.
I'm glad that you thought of that and brought that up because when I thought of artist date for this week, I first and foremost thought about our sketching. Um, because yeah, that was really fun. And I think
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, it wasn't even like a set intention. We just had like an hour to kill and
Mm-hmm.
we just pulled out our little sketchbooks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like it. I'm with doing the artist's way, I'm able to combat the inner saboteur in my head that likes to pop up when I'm doing something creative.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just reminded every time I sketch that like I learned something new
Mm-hmm.
and I challenge myself in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's nice having you there because you are
Aw.
also like, you know, a cheerleader for me, which
Aw.
is really nice to have.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, it's so fun. And like, I also just love because I have my little notebook that's like half sketching, half journal. Every time I do a sketch, I also write about like where I am and what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really fun way to like document our travels among the many ways that we've been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Check out their blog.
um,
What's it called again?
Joyful Wanderings.
Now plug yourself.
It's I have a blog on WordPress. It's called Joyful Wanderings. But you spelled joyful with an E after the Y.
Joye, because that's my last name.
Yeah.
Soon to be your last name.
Yeah. We have a few years, but it will be. I mean, I want it to be. Don't give me that look.
Damn. Okay.
People
Thank
watching
you.
the videos can't see the look that they just gave me, but yeah. I
I
mean,
said, bitch.
anyway, yeah, so that was like a fun spontaneous artist date.
Was there any other artist dates that you feel like we went on?
I feel like when we're intentional with bringing your camera to do photography, that also feels like an artist date
Hmm.
because I just having the camera makes me look at things differently.
Mm.
It helps me to like see things that are interesting and beautiful and like
Hmm.
being like I've never been this is my first time in Asia. So there's so much that's very different from the West and it's interesting to like have that, the artist eye when we're like walking
Mm.
somewhere and we're going to do different things. Like
Yeah.
I really like that.
How interesting. I experience it very differently because I always kind of have my camera eyes on. Like you've heard me say that'd be a great picture a million times when my camera's not on me. Um, so I just think that's really cool to hear that you find intention, like more intention and beauty when we bring the camera versus when we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't use it, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. We did do that today. And morning pages is up next. How did
Morning
morning pages go? We did
pages.
all of our morning pages, all 7.
Mm-hmm. Did I do a full 3 pages for all of them?
I did.
No. Today was the only day that I didn't do 3 pages just because
We were
I
a little bit in a
was,
rush, but today's week 4, so
yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway, um I didn't do a full morning page. Morning page? I
morning
didn't do
pages.
all of my morning pages this morning. It was hard to focus on that. And
Mm-hmm.
we had somewhat of a schedule this morning. So, I mean, I did write while I was also doing like yoga stretching because my body was just feeling achy from all of the walking that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. You
And
need
that
a
bitch
rest
hadn't
day.
shit yet either. So I was like trying to get my body moving to try to shit.
Damn. Okay,
So there was a
raw
lot going on.
authenticity over
It's,
here.
it's not a perfect excuse, but like I
Nah, it is what
just
it is.
it
It's
is
all
what it
good.
is. I think I had a really important like breakthrough with morning pages this week
Mm-hmm.
because I do tend to struggle with writing 3 pages when I'm up in the morning. Cuz like I don't know, I'm weirdly not full of thoughts all of the time. Like sometimes it's just like a song playing in the
I
background.
don't get this.
I don't always have an inner dialogue going. It's just like I don't know. Um,
Excuse me.
but I kind of turned it into my own thing of like literally strapping the Delulu cap on and just it's like writing in a manifestation way. And because I tend to be I don't like I'm it's not that I'm quite grumpy in the morning, but like maybe just like a little agitated. So it's like become
I
my
wonder why.
it's
Maybe
anyway.
because you were taught that's how you were supposed to react in the morning.
Yeah, anyway, it's easy for me to like write my manifestations in like a mocking way where like there's part of my brain that's like you don't really believe this bitch,
Like
but like
sarcastic, yeah.
yeah, but also if you know that your subconscious like doesn't understand sarcasm. So if you're like I'm a fucking millionaire bitch, like your subconscious is like, "Oh, you're a millionaire. That's great."
So you
So
were being nice to yourself and you
but
were like being so
I've
delulu girly pop,
no,
like,
I've tricked myself into being like so nice to myself when I write my pages because I'm like, I'm so beautiful and like I just radiate beauty
ethereal, non binary, androgynous energy.
and everything in my life is amazing. That one I don't consider to be a lie, but
Oh,
um
that's good.
anyway, it's very easy. I don't know if this is a hack that would help anybody else, but like I guess I am a little cranky in the morning and I'm like, like my life is wonderful. And I like, it's easy for me to like, part of me is being sarcastic when I write it, but it also is like, it
It's
works
making
really
you
well.
feel better though, and you're ending up like you're having better days because of it.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, it's easy for me to write 3 pages of just writing in a, I guess, in a like manifestation type way, even though there's still that part of my brain that doesn't believe it. Like, it's very easy to do that. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes
The
sense.
way that I'm writing it and how I think about it is like,
You're just tricking yourself. It's like
yeah,
it's
I'm
like
tricking
the
myself.
equivalent of having fake confidence. You don't really feel like you're confident, but you pretend like you are, and eventually you become it.
Hmm.
That's what you're doing. But instead it's I mean it is self-confidence, but it's also like self-love.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm tricking myself into loving myself. Isn't that crazy? I do love myself, but I'm tricking myself into loving myself even more.
Period.
So, yeah, I feel like that was a really big like breakthrough for myself with morning pages.
I'm probably not going to talk about my morning pages much, mostly because of time and my phone's going to die, and also because mine haven't changed a lot much. I didn't have any like life altering. Everything I've mentioned already was in the pages first.
Mhm.
Boom.
There it is.
So the last thing that she put in our check-ins was, did you experience any synchronicities? And this is not something that we've ever had as a check-in.
Yeah,
And
the past 2 weeks,
yep,
3 weeks, it's the same questions. So
yeah,
this was different.
yeah, the past 2 weeks. So this was a difference, and because we were keeping an eye out for it, we noticed a lot of things that felt like synchronicities, and then there was one thing that what I truly think was like a synchronicity action, because you
Mm-hmm.
can have like messages versus
Mm-hmm.
actions,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of messages that we don't really know what to do with yet, but New Zealand keeps popping up. We keep meeting people from New Zealand. We keep seeing it pop up on the news or pop up like we're at a restaurant, it's somehow being brought up and talked about, or
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, like the first night we were in the city proper, we went to dinner, and on the TV there was like, it was like this blogger video for some reason,
Someone
and
was
it was
vlogging their
like,
New Zealand journey.
yeah, and it was in Thai, but they were talking about like different parts of New Zealand, and they were
Mm-hmm.
in a van exploring the South Island, and
Which
I
is
was like,
literally what we're going to be
wow,
doing.
okay.
Yeah, we're literally be doing that. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
That
But yeah, New Zealand kept popping up. The other thing that I noticed was when we were thrifting, one of the like vintage teas I saw was like the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, which is like, an annual thing in New Mexico. And
mm-hmm.
we've been thinking about and talking about New Mexico a lot because that's where my parents are and that's where our cats are. So we want to be there for a while. And yeah, it was just interesting that of all places, Albuquerque, New Mexico popped up while we were in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't really see anything else besides like sports things, which we don't know where those are from anyways. So yeah. Yeah. So we saw New Mexico, we saw a lot of New Zealand, and we continue to see a lot of New
A
Zealand.
lot of New Zealand.
And not today, but recently we had a huge change in plans. Something both of us really wanted was to experience a meditation retreat, and we didn't really know how this was going to happen or where, and we didn't even think it was going to happen this time. We thought we'd have to build it in ourselves, which is partially why we're doing the 30-day meditation challenge. But
Mhm.
out of nowhere, we realized that one of our accommodations that we had was just not going to work.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God. Our original plan was to travel south and make our way down to Phuket, and we had a place like in between those two spots. But then we realized that like getting there was just not going to work.
mm-mm.
So
So instead, we canceled that. And instead, we're now going to Chiang Mai to do a silent meditation retreat with Buddhist monks up in the mountains of Papay. And those dates that were available were the exact dates that we had available.
mhm.
Like it was quite literally like one of those synchronicities where you're looking at these options and they say, this is one of the 3-day retreats. And it happens to be the exact days that you need.
It's the exact days and it's still open.
Mm-hmm.
And so we jumped on that
Yep. And now we're going to be doing that starting
tomorrow.
So yeah, we're going to be silent for 4 days basically, and we're going to have a whole experience, and maybe we'll talk about that in its own episode. So many episode ideas. It's so funny. It's going to be a long episode, speaking of which. But yeah, so we're going to be doing that, and that was one of those synchronicities where I've thought about doing something like that for years now and always wanted to, and I wanted to do it on this trip,
Mhm.
specifically going to Chiang Mai and doing it because I
Mhm.
had seen this specific meditation retreat so many times just randomly and heard about it randomly, and now we're doing it, and that's just so exciting. And after that, we're going to fly to Koh Samui and do a yoga retreat for 5 days. So we're just going to have like back-to-back retreats, which is really cool and very spiritually, like we're going to learn so much about ourselves. I've never been quiet for more than an hour. It's not true. I sleep. Well, actually I talk in my sleep, so
Yeah,
that's
you
not
do.
even true. But I think it's going to be really impactful, and I think the fact that that's something we both wanted, and it's something that ended up working out for this trip, and we desired that so much, but we didn't know how it was going to work or happen, and it ended up being an opportunity that we could make happen, and it was affordable, and it was just everything was just like lining up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
That's synchronicity,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah. So I think we can end it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to us for the past hour to hour and a half to maybe more.
Thanks for being along for the ride,
Yeah.
especially if you're watching the video version
Yeah, where
because
it's just the
it's
dark.
dark.
And maybe you can see this light on the wall. I can't
Yeah.
even tell. And hopefully it's not so loud outside that you can hear everything that we're hearing, because oh my god, is it
It's so
loud.
much.
I'm a little overstimulated in all honesty. And I'm
Yeah.
also quite hungry.
And I have
So
to pee, so
yeah, love you so much. Thank you for watching or listening. Um, we appreciate you. You're doing fantastic. If you're following along with us, keep it up. I hope that we gave you some insight or inspired you in some way, because you guys inspire us, even though we've not met you or don't even posted this yet. But like the fact that this is here is very inspiring. And we love you and we appreciate
mhm.
you, and you are fantastic. I don't know what affirmations put down in the comments, because I think most things have comments. What affirmations you need, and we will add those at some
Mhm.
point when we actually post these.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
it might be a minute, but you are worth it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.